running Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, 80% on Game Boy Color, and because we smashed that donation goal, we absolutely smashed it, Conception is gonna do Harry Potter cosplay. So yay! Thank you for everybody who donated to reach our goal. And with this, I'm gonna give over to Nate.
Yes, thank you so much. Yes, welcome everybody. My name's KonceptioN2. You've heard my voice plenty during this event already. I'm going to be running a couple of games for you here. Chamber of Secrets for Game Boy Color, followed by Prisoner of Azkaban by Game Boy Advance. These are both turn-based RPG games, so very different than games we've seen in the marathon thus far already. So it's gonna be a good time, but we'll get started and we'll kind of delve into it a little bit more as we get into it, because there is plenty of stuff in the beginning of the game that we can stop and have some chats for. So time is going to start in 3, 2, 1, go. All right. So first part of the game, obviously we're in our bedroom, trapped in a, you know, with our windows barred. I was gonna say a jail cell, which is basically what it is because we can't get out. So, but yeah, there's not too much in this beginning part here. We just talk to Dobby, get through a lot of dialogue sequences, and then Ron and the twins come and rescue us in the flying car, of course. The only thing of note that's important here is that we're gonna pick up our suitcase, we're gonna pick up Hedwig, which are all obviously important, and then we're gonna pick up our card. We're gonna choose our card deck from this little binder here, and we have to choose the Morgan Le Fay deck because it has a very important card combo that we're gonna pick up in the run later on. We're gonna talk more about card combos later on in the run because we don't really use them until the end at all anyway. So we'll get into it a little bit later. But easy as that, we're already out, and within the first minute or so, we actually have our first skip of the run here, which is called Ron Skip. Or I mean, I don't know if it's called Ron Skip, that's what I call it. But it is just simply walking pixel perfect around a text box, cutscene trigger, just like that. There's about I would say it's like a 15 to 20 second cutscene there with Ron and his whole family, that if we walk pixel perfect just around it, then we can just skip it all together. And then here we are. Yeah, the first part of the run is a little, so like up until we get to our first boss, there's really not too much to explain in terms of gameplay. Obviously you can see we're in a 2D world, you know, kind of like 16-bit Super Nintendo style graphics, top-down view for the most part. And like I said, it's a turn-based RPG. You won't see that for a little bit because we're not going to get into combat right away, but you're going to see it. It's kind of, think Pokemon combined with Final Fantasy is what you're going to get with this game. You saw me go over into that heap of garbage or clothes or whatever it is that's in Ron's room there and pick up a pepper up potion. That is just going to be useful for our first boss fight of the game. And we're actually going to pick up a second one before we leave the burrow here, but we still have a lot of time before that happens. So we just make our way back down to where we came from. We could hit an encounter there. An encounter is those little blue wisps of cloud that were popping up. You can run into them. Obviously, you might think, because you can see them in the overworld, it might be easy to dodge, which for the most part it is, but there are quite a few points in the game where you have encounters, and the encounters could spawn just directly in front of you. So I like to call that getting sniped, because it's like the encounter knew you were going to walk there and just place itself there. So these games are also filled with mini games. This is the first one of several where we have to pluck the gnomes out of the garden here. Now, I could be playing, but the outcome doesn't matter whatsoever. So I'm not playing just to potentially avoid lag frames. So I'm just going to let Ron tire himself out here. But we actually have a second mini game immediately after it that we take the gnomes that we have plucked from the garden, and now we have to throw them. And since this isn't a time-based mini game, we have to complete our turns in order to get by it. So just going to be taking my gnome and then throwing it as fast as I can directly at the fence, which is the fastest way to end my turn. So. And we just have to do that 5 times or four times. 4 times? Yeah.
Just some casual magical creature abuse.
I know, yep. Wonderful. Apparently this is just normal in the world. I have no idea. Hopefully we don't see it, but there is a chance that there's about a 5-pixel window in the fence. You can kind of see, like in the gap between the posts, that if I throw a gnome directly through there with enough speed, it'll just clip through the fence, which is unfortunate because then it just travels a lot farther. So we don't want to see it, but you could do it. Oh, look, I got it, just for the people. Like I said, 5 pixels wide, but I get it almost every run for whatever reason. I'm just that unlucky. Or talented, just depends on how you look at it. But that finally ends the mini games. We're actually getting ready to wrap up the burrow section here. We're at the part in the story where Harry's about to use flu powder for the first time, but we're gonna make a quick pit stop and grab a second pepper up potion from that bookcase, just to make our first boss fight a little easier. And then we're going to pepper up right into Nocturne Alley. Now, while we're in Nocturne Alley, there's just a long cutscene with when we're in the shop and then Draco and his father comes in and stuff like that. There's not too much to explain here, but we're gonna use a glitch potentially in this first part of the game that was not too long ago found within the past few months, and it's called the select glitch. So if you press the select button on a transition point, it makes it so in the overworld you're in a state that you can no longer interact with NPCs or trigger cutscenes, which is very useful for cutscenes that we want to skip. So we're not going to use it here. We're going to exit this building. We're going to head into this next building because we need to grab a revive potion from here just to make life easy. And then we're going to try to get it, and we got it. So you can tell I got it because I pressed select right on the transition point. A lot of times there's like a little like visual glitch of some kind of icon that'll pop up on the screen there. And then usually when you press select, what it does is it tells you the area that you're in, and in order to clear the text box, you have to press select again. But if I press select, that screen pops up where it tells me the area, and then it clears automatically as I walk through. That's how I know I got the glitch. And that enabled me to skip about a 5-second cutscene with Hagrid that was supposed to take place right before we transitioned to Diagon Alley here. We were in Nocturne Alley, now we're in Diagon Alley. Of course, no good Harry Potter run is good without making a stop at Gringotts in order to get our money. So here we are. This is the area that we're going to encounter our first boss fight here, which is called the Footman. The Footman is a very annoying boss fight. Luckily, there are ways to make it safe but slow, which is what I'm mostly going to go for unless I get really good luck. But of course, we're also going to save in front of it for marathon safety. That's always important. We pick up an antidote from that little window there. That'll be important for one of our boss fights later on. Same thing with that Wigging Well Grand Potion. It's just important for later on for boss fights. And then here's our first boss fight, this giant cloud. We're going to save and head into it. Fight the Footman, who is basically a giant suit of armor. Now, he always gets one turn off. We would prefer that he hit Ron, because Ron could actually tank a hit. But we didn't get so lucky. But there is a second glitch that we activate here, which is called Enemy Attack Skip. What that means is if we press A in between frames after our last character flees, last character in the turn order flees, then if we press A on a certain amount of time, it will actually skip the enemy's turn and go right back to our turn. So we're just going to do that repeatedly. Harry is the slower of the character between Harry and Ron, so that's why we're doing that. We're going to heal up Ron's magic because Ron's going to be doing the bulk of the damage here. And then we're just going to rinse and repeat. We did get a crit on turn 1, which is very good. Anytime we get a crit in these fights, just makes it go by that much faster. Ooh, we did get a miss there though, so that kind of counteracts the crit. So we are going to use, that's exactly why we pick up 2 pepper up potions. You can most of the time get away with 1 if you get a crit, or we do it slightly different when we're doing for PB strats, where Harry will risk it a little bit more and attack on his own. But since we're doing marathon safety, we want them both to stay alive, then we're gonna play it safe for the most part. And there we go. That's the Footman fight. A little slow, but not too bad. All right, and then we head into our vault here. I should mention as well, the reason why we want both of them to survive is because if one of them falls in battle, and we still win, as in like the other person finishes out the fight, we would still win the battle, but the person who fell would not get experience. So that's quite unfortunate a lot of times, especially if it's Harry, because obviously Harry is the main character we use. I didn't mean to pick up that card. That was just an accident, but that's fine. Doesn't affect anything. A lot of time, if Ron had fallen, I probably could have gotten away with a little bit of a workaround, but because Harry fell, especially in that first round, that's why we get the revive potion, because we want Harry to get all the experience he needs for the run. But pretty good. No other encounters besides the boss, which is always what we want to see. So that's excellent. And we just make our way back out to Diagon Alley proper here. All right, so the only other thing we need to do in Diagon Alley is go and buy our books and go to the bookstore, but we are gonna pit stop and we're gonna grab a card combo here that we're going to use on the last boss of the game. And we're not gonna use it at all until then, so it's very useful, but we'll dive into it a little bit later on. And then we just have a lot of cutscene stuff here, really nothing important. I always like to mention that this is a fun little fact. Most games, especially Game Boy games that you play, you would mash with A or sometimes A and B as they both clear text boxes. But for whatever reason, if you try to mash with A in this game or its predecessor, Harry Potter 1 for Game Boy Color, A is a slower way to mash. It creates lag frames for whatever reason. So the fastest way to mash is using B alone, or you can use B and select as well. And that's really the fastest because you get to, clear text boxes as fast as you can, basically. So I'm actually mashing B and select as opposed to A and B, which is just, another quirky little thing about the game. Coming up, so we're gonna have a cutscene, not a cutscene, a mini game rather, where we are flying the car from platform 9 3/4 to Hogwarts. It's a very long auto-scrolling mini game that is on a timer, and us playing it has no impact. So I most of the time don't play it because I just use it as a 2-minute input break, but it's literally 2 minutes long. That'd be when we get there, it's obviously a perfect time for comments, donations, plugs, and anything like that. But I'll also show off a little bit more of my costume to you, since I'll have the time to stand up and kind of show it off to you. But first we got to get there, so. All right, so we just mash through this. The game also takes a little bit of a unique perspective. When you read the book or watch the movie, you're not really aware that Dobby is the one that's sabotaging you until like midway through. But the game shows you that right from the beginning, that Dobby's the one who sealed the platform right at the beginning. So that's interesting. This is the mini game here. First, if we have any plugs, donations, anything like that, now's a great time.
There's actually a question in chat. Is this version the same as the GBA, or are they different games?
Yes, so very interesting. The first two, so Harry Potter 1 and Harry Potter 2, have 5 different versions of the game, and they're all different. So they each have a Game Boy Color version. They each have a Game Boy Advanced version, which are different games made by different developers. Then they each have a PC version. They each have a PS1 version, and then they each have a what we call 6th gen version, which is PS2, Xbox, and GameCube. All 5 games are distinctly different. It's really crazy to me. Then they bump down from that to Prisoner of Azkaban has 3 different versions, and then from 4 on, it's mainly 2 different versions. So, but yeah, for some reason, the first 2, there's 5 different versions of the game. I'm not sure why.
Since we don't have any donations right now, I just want to remind everybody that you are watching the Trans Rights Are Magical speedrunning marathon. We are raising money for Trans Lifeline, a grassroots non-profit organization offering direct emotional and financial support to trans people in crisis. If you want to learn more about the cause we are supporting today, you can visit translifeline.org. And to donate, just follow the link in the chat.
Yep, absolutely. Link in the chat. There's also a box below the stream that will have a donation link as well if you miss it in the chat. But let's take a look at the costume here a little bit. So I got the robe, of course, right? It's got the Gryffindor logo. Got the wand, the tie, the vest. I even put a scar on my forehead. Everything is all included. But hey, just like that, we're through our 2-minute mini game. Went by like nothing. So, we have crashed into the Whomping Willow, classic, movie and book part. One thing that you might remember that happens is that when we crash into the Willow, Ron's wand breaks. And that carries over into this game, and in fact, in a very frustrating manner. So Ron's wand from this point forward for the entire game is broken, which means that there is a possibility that his wand will backfire, just like this, and it will damage himself instead of our enemy, which is very unfortunate. That it usually comes into play on this fight mostly, and it slows down this fight. But this fight is not too big of a deal. If we die, we actually just reset at the top of the tree, so we would just have to take the fight again. It's not the end of the world. So hopefully we don't die, because obviously that's faster. But if we do, we'll be okay. Unfortunately, Harry got hit first, and he got hit for max damage. So if he does get hit again, yeah. So we actually have to reset here. We can't afford to have Harry die and not get the experience. I wish we could, but we actually have to purposely die. And then we'll have to take that fight again. The Willow fight is a little bit annoying, and there's not much we can do to bypass it. That's all right, we just start from the top of the tree again. Walk our way back down, give it another go. I will say I'm gonna be donating $5 per backfire, so we're already up to 5. And I also want to throw forward another challenge here for us. So I'd love to do this anytime that I speedrun a Harry Potter game at an event, which is I want to hear how people rep in terms of what houses they are in. Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, Slytherin. But I don't want to hear it in the chat. You can say it in the chat if you want, but I'm not reading chat, unfortunately. So I would much prefer if you submit it through donations. I will calculate it through the 2 runs, and by the end of my Prisoner of Azkaban run, we'll give a special shout out to the house that reps the most in terms of donations. And I'll tell you up front, my house is Gryffindor, so I'm going to be putting my donations towards Gryffindor, and there's already $5 pledged. So guys gotta catch up. So Ron dying there is not the end of the world. It's only bad if Harry doesn't survive this. So let's see. Okay, no, we're good. Ron doesn't need the experience. We're fine. So we're gonna move on there. The only time it would be really bad is if there's another boss fight later on that gives Ron a bunch of experience, and if he died in that fight too, then we'd have a big problem. But he doesn't really need that Willow experience to proceed, so it's not the end of the world. All right, so we're finally in the castle. Lord Farquaad is here, I mean Snape, and he's just, you know, these are just cutscenes where they're like, what do you guys do and fly in a car through the countryside and yada, yada, yada. Nothing of importance here. Now, just like any good Harry Potter game as well that has a, you know, kind of an open world castle feel, we have shortcuts that we can take in the castle to move across floors faster. However, when we arrive on the first night here, we cannot use any of the shortcuts, and our next goal is to go up to Gryffindor Tower, which is of course at the top. So unfortunately, we just have the bad luck of having to walk every floor individually, but now you get to see what the floors look like, so. I honestly think for a Game Boy Color game, this is very well done. Stylistically, of course, but also I just think the quality of game is really high. I attribute that mainly to the fact that, one, I like the developer, which is Kryptonite Games, but two, this is the last Game Boy Color game that was put into production. So there was not another Game Boy Color game released after this. All right, so we're gonna buy 2 here, 1 here, skull cap, and oven mitts. Interesting combo, I know. But so we're gonna equip those 2 things. Like any good RPG as well, there is an equipment system that's gonna raise or lower your stats based on what the item does. So we go ahead and we use some money to buy the skull cap and the oven mitts there to overall it bolsters our attack and defense when you combine the 2 of them, which is going to be very important for our early game fights here. We also buy 2 regular Wig and Weld potions and 1 Pepper Up potion. which is just to get by the next segment, which is in herbology. All right, so we have, like any good Harry Potter game, I keep using that euphemism, but like any good Harry Potter game, we have classes we have to go to. This one does not have as many classes as Harry Potter 1 GBC does, but the first class we have to head to is herbology. So we're gonna head there, and now we get to use our shortcuts for the first time in the game. We go down one floor from 7 to 6, and then from 6, there's a shortcut that goes to the dungeon, which is where like potions classes, Snape's office, the Slytherin common room, things like that. But you just go around and then you're actually on the ground floor, so it saves us quite a bit of time as we have to go outside. So very good. So what we're gonna do is we are going to grab this pepper up potion, and now we're in herbology. Every Harry Potter fan knows Chamber of Secrets herbology revolves around the mandrakes, and this game is no different. It's just frustrating because we have to fight 3 mandrakes, and there's also a boss in between the second and the third mandrake. So there's 4 guaranteed fights that are in this class. The first 2 mandrakes are a little bit frustrating, so we want to hope that each of them gives us 1 miss, as in they try to attack us and they miss us, or else we're gonna have to heal in each of those fights, which is obviously slow, but also drains some of our healing resources that we'd like to save for the end game fights instead. So here we are at our first one. You'll notice I kind of turn away there just to give us a head start towards the next direction once we end this fight. Cool, we got a miss first turn, which is great. And we only have, I should mention the spells as well. We only have a few spells active and available to us at the beginning. We obviously have Flipendo, which is a 0-cost spell, but it's very weak. So we don't use it ever in the run unless one fight goes poorly, then we would use it. But we use Vermilius, Vermilius a lot, which is the spell we're using on this mandrake here. We got a miss, but he got 2 misses, so that's fine. We could still kill here as long as it doesn't miss again. Very good. We also have Verdimilius, which is a spell we used on the footman, and we'll actually use it on the boss fight in this area as well. Some other spells that we use, we'll use a poison spell later on that we don't have unlocked yet called Mucus Ad Nauseam. Yeah, we need to heal both. There we go. And we'll also use Petrificus Totalis, but only once and not until the end of the game. So not a lot of different spells that we have to use in this game. We'll unlock a few other spells that we'll never touch as well. So we also get Incendio after herbology here, which we will use for a fight later on. But yeah, so the first mandrake, that was good, and this one is going well as well. Hopefully we can keep it up. Like I said, if we get a miss, we don't have to heal in the fights. But after the second mandrake, we won't have to use potions afterwards because we will level up, and anytime we level up, we are replenished of our magic and our health. So we don't have to worry about replenishing everything after this fight. And it's actually pretty good RNG so far. So hopefully it stays that way. And this is the boss fight, which is the Ruby Red Crab, which, as everyone who's pointed out that's had to deal with this in any Harry Potter run in this event, is a turtle. It's not a crab. But they all did the same thing, all these fire crabs, which is they look like turtles and then they shoot fire out of their butts. I don't know why. Don't know who thought this was a good idea. The Ruby Red Fire Crab has 80 health. So we can 4-shot it. We just have to get good rolls on damage because our Verdimilius does between 19 and 21. So if we got a bunch of 19s, we'd be in trouble, but we got 2 21s. So we got the 4-shot, which is good. If we had gotten too many 19s, we would have used Flipendo there to cover the rest of the damage. But since we 4-shot, it's not a problem. And now we're on our last mandrake. This mandrake is not a danger to us because we also leveled up after the fire crab. So this mandrake doesn't have a chance to kill us unless we miss like 4 times or something like that. And during this fight, we actually want to take a good amount of damage. We're going to try to set up an exploit later on We're gonna try to have Harry take an intentional death during a boss fight, so that later on intentional death is faster. But unfortunately, this Mandrake is missing us quite a bit, so it's probably not gonna happen. It'd be very unlikely. Having 77 health here is very unlikely, and it's high. So we like to have between 40 and 20 if we could, but at least we're alive, so I can't really complain that much. Otherwise, that was a very smooth herbology. This is a segment that can go south in a lot of different ways and cause a lot of time loss, but we actually showcased a pretty smooth one. I'm pretty happy with that. All right, now we have Incendio. And now we're going to move on to our next class, which is Defense Against the Dark Arts. Which is with, of course, the outstanding Professor Lockhart. Someone who has had all of these legendary battles, definitely is not a fraud. But we do get to showcase another cutscene, not cutscene, shortcut. I always confuse those two terms for whatever reason. Which is we go from floor 1 to floor 4, and we're actually going to pit stop here in the hospital wing and activate a side quest. This is Katie. She tells us that she's really sick, unfortunately, and she would love one of the storybooks that her mom gave her. She told us it's been left on the Gryffindor, one of the tables in the Gryffindor common room, and Harry said he'd gladly go get it for her. So we're going to activate that, but we're not going to act on it for quite some time. But we will complete that side quest before the game is over. All right, but here we are, Defense Against the Dark Arts. If you're familiar with the story, this is where we have to immobilize the pixies that Lockhart lets out because of his incompetence. This is another minigame. It's another time-based minigame, so I don't actually have to play it. And I choose not to most of the time because it could cause lag frames, which slows you down, but most of the time, if you play it, it's fine. But we would have a minigame here. We would be paralyzing these pixies, but no need to. Just a nice 35-second cutscene, basically. Ugh. Nice handbrake, nice, you know, swish and flick practice. You know, you gotta get in for those OWL exams in your 5th year, so. And there we are. Fortunately, that is the last mini game that we have to see play out that we don't play. We do have several more mini games, but we have to play them out. Some make sense to the story and others are completely bonkers, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Speaking of, we're actually getting ready to head to another mini game, which is Quidditch. We actually get to play Quidditch in this game. It's gonna look different than other Quidditches you've seen in this marathon already, but we do get to play Quidditch. We'll actually play Quidditch several times in this run. So we're gonna take that shortcut back from floor 4 to floor 1, and we're gonna head back outside towards the Quidditch pitch. The only thing that could happen that wouldn't cause us to lose time before we start the match is that there are areas here like this that could have encounters. However, you might have seen what I just did was I paused and unpaused. So nice little pause buffer there. And if you pause right as you're about to hit an encounter and unpause, most of the time the game will say, oh, you can't pause when there's an encounter on you, therefore the encounter must be somewhere else. So it will put the encounter in a different spot on the map. There we go. So that was Quidditch. Blink and you miss it. That's how it's supposed to be. You can actually just lose all of your Quidditch matches. It's obviously very slow if you do so, but winning them has no consequence. It's just faster to win them than it is to lose them. So I'm gonna count that. That's another backfire on Ron. He tried to cast a spell on Malfoy there, it backfired on him. So that's $10, and that's going towards Gryffindor. So if you want another house to win this unofficial house cup, you guys are gonna have to get those donations in. But since Ron is in such a state, we're gonna go to Hagrid to see if he can help us, which of course he can, but it takes a little deviation from the books and the movies where Harry and Hermione, so this will be the first time we get to see Hermione in a battle, have to find some ingredients for Ron to make like a potion or a tonic that will stop him from barfing up slugs. There's 5 ingredients inside Hagrid's garden. If we do everything right, there's only one fight we have to do while we get these ingredients. However, there are encounters galore, so there's a chance that we run into another encounter that we would try to run from. But here we are in Hagrid's garden. We're gonna pick up the 5 ingredients. So, first one is here. They're all gonna be in little holes in the shrubbery here. So the first one's there. Second one is over here. Third one is up top here. The fourth one that we're gonna get is a result of this boss fight coming up against the venomous Tentacula. All right, so we got to see what Tentacula is going to do first turn. Stun Hermione is not what we want to see. So what we're going to do is we're going to enemy attack skip until it's Hermione's turn again. Luckily, she was only stunned for 1 turn, so that was minimal time loss. And then we're going to end Incendio with Hermione, and then enemy attack skip with Harry, basically. Now Hermione is going to run out of NP after her 3rd casting of Incendio here. So what we're actually going to do is we're not going to enemy attack skip here since our health is so high. We're going to use Pepper Up on Hermione, so we don't have to skip a turn. Hermione's going to cast Incendio, and then Harry is going to finish it off with Incendio. Now, what I would have preferred to have done here is if Harry's health was lower, what we would have done is we would have tried to take a death to Harry at this Tentacula, because Harry has enough experience at this point that he can deal to lose with the Tentacula experience. And then what would happen is he would not level up, which means that he would not heal. And whenever you fall in battle but you win a fight, the next fight that you enter, you'll come back with 1 HP. And we take a couple of intentional deaths later on in the run, and it would have been a lot faster if Harry is at 1 HP as opposed to full. So we would have tried to manipulate that, but I knew I pretty much had no chance. The only chance I would have had of that working is if Harry had taken the first shot from the Tentacula, and then when I had healed Hermione's magic, he would have also had to have taken the 2nd shot. Then he would have died, but I knew it was pretty unlikely, so I just went for as fast of a kill as I could get at that point. So Ron is good now, more or less. However, we did fly a car in order to get to school this year, and of course there are consequences with that. So we do have to go to detention. For Ron, that's different than what it is for Harry. For Harry, what he has to do is he has to go to Lockhart's office and help him sign autographs. So we're gonna take the same shortcut as we did to get to the Defense Against the Dark Arts classroom, because his office is on the same floor. That's convenient. So now we're on floor 4, heading to floor 3. And his office is actually a little bit closer. We don't have to go as far up. Here he is. This is just a little bit of plot exposition and stuff. Do we happen to have any of those house point donations coming through yet, Leica? I'll take that as a no. But what we're gonna do now is we're actually gonna head down to another Quidditch match. However, in between there is meant to be a cutscene which with nearly headless Nick inviting us to his death day party. Now we can skip this cutscene using 2 different ways. 1, the select glitch, as I did before, but I did miss it. But 2, if you move over just 1 pixel, I'm actually gonna head back out and try this again. Head over just 1 pixel to the right and then head down. If you're pixel perfect, you'll actually just walk right by the cutscene, which I did. So there you go. Getting it. Oh, go ahead.
I actually said something, but I was muted in Discord, so sorry about that.
Oh, that's all right. No worries. But yeah, we were able to skip that little cutscene with Nick by just walking pixel perfectly. The select glitch obviously would have been faster, but it's decently hard to get on that staircase for whatever reason. But here we are, Quidditch 2. Same thing as before. We're just chasing the snitch. I overshot it by a lot. Ooh, this is a really slow one. I'm not doing too hot. There we go. I finally got it. That was a really bad one, but that's okay. Despite us skipping the Nick cutscene, we still know that what happens next in the story is we have to go to Nick's death day party, so we still are going to go. We're going to activate the select glitch, which we got on the first try there. We actually have 4 opportunities to get it. And because we got the select glitch there, we actually skip a dialogue sequence with Harry, Ron, and Hermione that saves about 5 seconds. So that's good. Did we happen to have any donations towards the house points, Laika?
We do not, which means Gryffindor is currently winning. But I can remind you that after this run, we're gonna have another Harry Potter Game Boy run of the 3rd Harry Potter book, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. And after that, we're actually gonna have a co-op run of Harry Potter 1 on PC. So stay tuned for the upcoming runs.
Yes, absolutely will do. Don't forget that house point thing is going to go through my Prisoner of Azkaban run. So you still have time to get those donations in, but Gryffindor is out to an early lead, so you're going to do that. Like I said, we did save about 5 seconds, but unfortunately we did hit an encounter, so that kind of counteracted the time save there. But here we are at Nick's death day party. This is where the game gets a little strange. So the Death Day party is in the books, but it's not in the movies. The first 2 Game Boy Color games follow more along lines with the books than they do the movies, though they were released in conjunction with the movie releases. So we do go to the death party in the book, but there's nothing in the book about bowling with skulls and bones, which we do have to do here. And because, again, it is not a timed minigame, it is based on completing a game, we have to do it. So we're bowling. And it is fastest to try and get strikes on every frame besides the last one. So I'm going to try. I've come close 2 times in a row, but not quite. It's, of course, fastest to get strikes because if you get a strike on the first frame, you don't have to bowl the second part of that frame. But if you do get a strike on the 10th frame, it will actually add an extra ball. So we don't want to get a strike on the 10th frame, but any strikes on frame, a strike on the first ball of frames 1 through 9 is what will save us, bits of time here. Fortunately, not getting too lucky. It's almost pixel perfect to get a strike. So it's really tough, especially when the ball is moving and it moves in a random direction each time.
We just got a raid by Fire Splitter. Thank you very much for supporting the stream. And welcome, raiders.
Yes, thank you so much for the raid. Welcome to Trans Rights, our magical marathon. Appreciate you all stopping by. All right, come on, get a strike for the people. For the people. Ugh, man. All right, I got one more chance. All right, one more chance. Come on, for the people, Harry. Not quite. All right, well, that's fine. It saves like minimal time, even if you get strikes. It's not a big deal. All right, so the last frame, we're gonna try and hit as few pins as possible because we don't want the pin animation to go off, which is fine. That was fine. All right, so now we're done with bowling. There's a big glitch here, so I'm actually gonna focus on it and then I'll explain it a little bit after. I might not even get it, so we'll see. I am gonna save here because I can soft block. I got it. Okay, excellent. So this is a glitch called Voices Skip. So what we did is we paused exactly on when not a cutscene, but a point was meant to trigger a dialogue sequence. And I paused the game, went into my equipment menu, went out of my equipment menu and unpaused before the game had a chance to play a text box there. And what that did is it put me in a similar state that is to what a select glitch would do. So I can no longer trigger cutscenes and text boxes. And there are a lot of that happen here because of something we call voices, which is where Harry hears voices through the walls. And we go along this entire path. There's probably like 15 or so text boxes that we'd have to clear had we not gotten that glitch. But we skipped them all. It was unfortunately slightly counteracted by yet another encounter there, which is very unlucky. But at least we got to showcase that. If I had not paused, entered the menu, exit menu, and unpaused fast enough, I would have soft locked inside my pause menu, which is exactly why I saved there, because I didn't want to try the glitch and then have the run end there. But at least we got to show that off a little bit, which is cool. But yeah, now it's getting real. Chamber of Secrets, first paralyzation victim, Mrs. Norris, of course. So things are starting to get a little spooky up in Hogwarts here. We, of course, you have to head to another class, which is History of Magic. This part of the run is unfortunately a little bit boring because it's a fetch quest into another fetch quest. So there's not really too much going on. What happens here is in History of Magic, we have to go and fetch a book from the library for the teacher. And then we just go to the library, get the book, and come back. That's all there is to it. But first we have to start the class. So we head into the classroom. Let Professor Benz here do his best ghost impression, and then we head down to the library. All right, so to get to the library, fastest way is we're gonna take this shortcut down to the first floor, and then we're gonna take the stairs up to the second floor. Oops. Talk to Madam Pence here, who's a librarian, and then she just walks up to where the shelf where the book is, and then it's at the end. That's it. The only thing that could go wrong in this split is that you can hit encounters in the library, and then we move on to another part after with the second fetch quest where we head outside, and there can be encounters there too. But that's literally all that can go wrong. We just head right back up to History Magic. The only thing of note that's going to be different here is that before I talk to Benz about getting the book, I'm actually going to head over here to this globe and pick up a Witches and Wizards card, and that card is going to be very important to using a card combo in the end game. This is actually a good time. We can talk a little bit about it. So between Harry, Ron, and Hermione, they each have a special power that's unique to them. Ron has like a projectile power that is involved with Scabbers, where he can like throw Scabbers and it does different things. We will use Ron's power exactly once in one of our last boss fights, because it causes a stun effect for one turn. Hermione's, I actually couldn't even tell you what Hermione's is in this game because we never use it. So I'm not exactly sure, and it's been a while since I've played it casually to even know. So not entirely sure. Harry's is using card combos. So Harry collects Witches and Wizards cards, and he also can collect card combos in the game. Now, the deck that we collected at the beginning, we had two choices between the Merlin deck and the Morgan Le Fay deck. And the reason why we chose the Morgan Le Fay deck is because we're going to get a card, we got a card combo rather, just outside the bookstore in Gringotts that is crucial to the final boss of the game. The card combo is called Weak Point, and what Weak Point does is it makes it so they're susceptible to damage. So your attacks are basically going to do like triple damage, more or less. So that makes the last boss fight a little bit more, I don't want to say safe because it's still very dangerous, but it makes it go by a little faster, we'll say that. That's the only card combo we have to use in the run. We might end up using a second one, which is called Healing Bomb, which basically will heal 10 damage per turn, but it will also remove status effects like poison. We might not end up using that. We might. It just depends on how the final boss goes as well. But those are the only two card combos that we'd use. If we had picked the Merlin deck, that card combo we would have picked up outside the shop would not have been Weak Point. It would have been something else. So that's why we pick up Morgan Le Fay. Right now, we're on a fetch quest. We went to try to talk to Moaning Myrtle, but Moaning Myrtle didn't want to talk to us. We decided, hey, how do we should get her a gift. What do ghosts like that will get us to talk to us? Oh, I skipped a part. Hagrid would know that information. So we go talk to Hagrid, who tells us that ghosts like lilies. And who else likes lilies, of course? Professor McGonagall. So we go and steal a lily flower off her desk, while also grabbing a antidote potion for one of our boss fights later on. And we're just gonna head back to Moaning Myrtle and talk to her. And that's the end of that. She does give us access to that spell, Mucus Ad Nauseam, and Mucus Ad Nauseam is a poison spell like I talked about before. If you think of Pokemon, when you get poisoned, it does a little chip damage, like little bits of damage per turn, and that is what this spell does. It doesn't do any initial damage, but it will take off damage per turn. The times that we use it, it does 15 damage per turn, so it's pretty useful. We're only going to use it 2 times in the game, and they're all going to be for 2 of our in-game bosses. So for now, this is just a really annoying part that Harry, Ron, and Hermione need to discuss what to do next, but they can only discuss it in the Gryffindor common room. So we have to walk all the way up to the Gryffindor common room, enter it, just for them to have a short conversation, and then walk down 3 more floors. Frustrating, but it's what we have to do to progress the story. As you've been able to see so far, there are enough glitches that make, cheesing fights and skipping cutscenes plenty easy in the game. But for whatever reason, Kryptonite Games does a really solid job at coding their story flags. So we have not found any solid ways to bypass story flags in order to skip whole events or anything like that, which is unfortunate, which means we still have to do the whole main quest line in order to progress. Every game they do is like that. So they do 3 games in the Harry Potter sequence. All are RPGs. Harry Potter 1 for Game Boy Color, Harry Potter 2 for Game Boy Color, and they also do the game I'm running next, which is Harry Potter 3 for Game Boy Advanced. And all of them have very hard-coded story flags for whatever reason. All right, so what we decided that we need to figure out who the heir of Slytherin is and who's opening the Chamber of Secrets. We think it's Malfoy, and we're trying to figure out how we can gather that information to see if it is. We talk about the Polyjuice potion for the first time here, but we need to get the recipe from a book in the restricted section. All that means is we need to talk to Lockhart to get a permission slip. That little NPC that came up from the bottom of the screen and then left was Colin Creevy, who is a photographer. I only point him out because it is important for a side quest later on. Just know that he's there and that he probably won't be there for much longer. So we now are coming up on our 3rd instance of Quidditch. Now this Quidditch is very different than the other 2 that we've done so far, because if you're familiar with the story, this is the Rogue Bludger Quidditch that happens. Now you can get quote-unquote lucky enough to not get hit by the Rogue Bludger at all during the Quidditch match. However, if you don't, you'll actually soft lock the game, because the first time you get hit by the Bludger, it initiates a text box with Harry where he says, "Oh man, this Bludger's real rough," or something like that. I don't know, I've never read it, but if you don't get that text box, the game doesn't know how to progress and it soft locks. So what we typically do in a run is we'll actually let the Bludger hit us right at the beginning. So we ensure that we get the text box like this. So we just let it hit us, and then we start to go after the snitch. Now, unfortunately, the Bludger is being very rough. Oh man, I almost got it there. Okay, there we go. Little long, but at least we still won. Yep, so that's all that has happened, and now we just have a extended cutscene. So if there's any plugs or donations or anything like that, take it away.
There actually is a donation by Ashlyn, $1.34, saying, "Gryffindor pride, but also more importantly, trans rights are magical. Good luck to all the runners and amazing people in charge of this marathon. Also, hi Nate again. Thanks for always letting me draw the scar on your forehead, and I love you.
Oh, well, thank you very much. That is, of course, my fiance. It would be weird if it was anybody else. So she did draw the scar on my forehead, and I love you very much. Thank you for all of your support, of course. So I mentioned Colin Creevy before. We saw him on the field taking pictures there. And we're going to have to get some Fs in the chat for our friend Colin Creevy coming up here, because he is going to be the next victim of paralyzation. There he is. And that is actually an important part for our routing, but we'll talk a little bit about that when we get towards the end of the game. But it's important that Colin is paralyzed here. But I won't spoil that. We'll wait until a little bit later. So now we have yet another class, quote unquote, but it's not really a class. We have to go to potions, but we're not going to really do potions. We need to sneak into Snape's potion stores in order to get ingredients for the Polyjuice potion. So we're going to head down to the dungeon where his classroom is. There's a story scripted diversion where they set up like wizard crackers or something. And then we just have to walk through a very long snaking hallway where the two ingredients we need to gather at the very beginning of the snake and at the very end of the snake. So not much to mention there, besides the fact that encounters pop up in the hallway and we're going to just do our best to avoid them. That's it. Not much to mention. There's the wizard cracker. And he's going to stay diverted enough for us to be walking in this very long hallway. It does not matter if you get the one at the beginning first or the one at the end first. I personally just like to get the one at the end first and then get the one at the beginning on the way out. I don't know why. Doesn't matter at all. But you will see in hallways like this, and pretty much throughout the game where there are a lot of encounters, I'm going to be hugging the top walls of things. And that is because it shrinks Harry's hitbox considerably. It makes it so the only way that Harry can get hit by encounters is if he gets hit in the feet by an encounter, because the rest of his body is in the wall. So it's a nice, neat way to walk effectively to make it so you won't hit encounters as much. Of course, if one does come my way, I'm just going to attempt to pause buffer it out of the way, so. All right, pretty easy. All right, and then that was it. That's all we needed to do for potions. Now, the next part that we're going to do is the Dueling Club, if you're familiar. So in the story, Harry and Draco duel each other. Draco, casts a spell which summons a snake. Harry talks to it in parcel tongue, yada, yada, yada. Now, if before in that venomous tentacula fight, all the way back when Ron was barfing up slugs, if we had made it so Harry was able to die during that fight, Harry would have 1 HP right now. And the fastest way to get by the Draco duel is to have Draco kill you, because you don't have to win the fight to progress the story. However, because we weren't able to do that, not only did I not get to 1 HP, but I actually leveled up, so I'm at full HP. So I'm at like 100, I think it's like 107 health or something like that. The best we can hope for is that Draco will 2-shot us here. But Draco also has a big habit of missing. All right, so he hit us the first one. Oops. We just continuously flee so we don't take damage. There's the big habit of missing. What did I tell you? If that had hit, we would have died. So this actually won't kill us even if it hits. Yep, there you go. That's one of Draco's weaker spells. So this is particularly unlucky. So we could have got a 2-shot, but we got a 5-shot, which is real slow. So not great. So there is So Justin, who is the Hufflepuff over there on the left, he's gonna run away, and what we have to do next is kind of chase him down to explain that we're not bad people, which is always awkward when you have to like chase somebody to say, hey, I'm not a bad person. It doesn't, you know, it's not super convincing. But what we can do is we can attempt to do a select glitch out of this door. For some reason, it's very difficult to do on this transition. But if we miss it, it's not a big deal. It only skips 3 text boxes, but I'm gonna try to hit it anyway, might as well. All right, let's see if I can do it. Nope, not quite. Not a big deal though. Like I said, this text box, this text box, this text box. That's all it would skip. So, and now you get to see Justin running every time we enter a new floor until we get to him, so. If we had gotten the select glitch, we wouldn't even see Justin at all. And apparently this Heir of Slytherin strikes fast because Justin is paralyzed on the floor, and Nearly Headless Nick is also there. And technically Nearly Headless Nick is dead again, but he's a ghost, so he'll be fine. All right, so at this point, there's been too many paralyzations and Harry has been around for too many of them. And now they're starting to get suspicious that Harry is the one that's paralyzing people, which of course is not. We're playing as Harry. We haven't paralyzed anybody. So we have to go talk to the principal. I mean the headmaster, Dumbledore. He just has like a weird maze hallway up to his office that we just have to get by, and that's it. We can actually hit encounters there and make that a bit slow. So luckily we didn't. This is Fox, his Phoenix. Let's get some F's in the chat for Phoenix, Fox here, because Fox is dead. Now let's get whatever the opposite of F's are in the chat for Fox, because Fox is alive again. And spoiler alert, that's not the last time we're gonna see Fox either, so. All right, so next is the classic Polyjuice Potion hijinks. Now, what we're gonna do here is we're actually going to go and find Crab and Goyle, which are actually on the ground floor. And we're given 2 chocolate cakes here, which are filled with a sleeping draft in order to make them pass out so we can grab their hairs for the potion. What we're gonna tell them is like, hey, we have these chocolate cakes, we'll duel you for them. If you win, we'll give you the cakes. And I forget what happens if they lose, actually, but it doesn't matter because we're gonna lose on purpose. This is very similar to what we did with the Draco fight, but this time it's a 2-person duel with Crab and Goyle and Harry and Ron. Again, the fastest we can hope for without crits, obviously, is a 2-shot fight, because they could since they each have a spell to cast, they can either 2-shot one of us or 1-shot each of us and then 1-shot each of us again the next turn. But it almost never, I think I've gotten a 2-shot Crab and Goyle once. I usually get like 3 or 4 because, again, for whatever reason, they have big habits of missing or casting spells that don't do enough damage to take us out. So we go there. You might be wondering why I didn't take the shortcut from floor 6 to the dungeon, because that would have been faster. But because they're standing right in front of the dungeon door, that shortcut is now locked because you can't approach them from behind. So you have to walk all the way down to floor 4 and then take that shortcut. All right, so here's the duel. We flee with both in hopes that they take us out quick. Hey, there's another miss. That fireball spell is weak and it missed, so cool. We got 2 misses so far. All right, so turn 3, Harry finally falls. Now we only have to run with Ron, so this is turn 4. I guess turn 5 maybe. Maybe not. Oh my gosh. Turn 6, I guess. This is actually really unfortunate luck. This is crazy. Oh, of course, there's the crit. Thank you.
The good old marathon luck.
Yeah, wonderful. RNG is always with me, of course. And just for good measure, we got that crit on the last hit, which if it had not crit, we still would have died, of course. So wonderful. Love a nice 6-turn fight, optimal slowness. But we finally get by it. Just, you know, you might be thinking, well, at that point, why not fight them? Even with a 6-turn fight, it's still faster to lose to them. Not to mention, defeating them would actually be a little bit tough because we're underleveled. So we would be wasting spell animations to probably die anyway. So. But now we got the stuff. Hermione said she got her own hair from Millicent Bulstrode. We're gonna find out that she's lying and that she is actually a furry instead. She's a cat now, and we are Crab and Goyle now. Alright, so we're actually gonna try and get a select glitch here. We again have 4 tries. And of course we get it on the first try. Look at me go. We skip a very substantial cutscene with Snape by getting the select glitch here. So that's really good that we got it. It saves about 20, I want to say like 25 seconds, roughly. The cutscene would happen right here if we were not in the select glitch. But now we're gonna get out of select glitch so we could talk to Malfoy. And we are in the Slytherin common room. We don't get to explore it too much. We only get to go as far as talking to Malfoy and then we have to leave, but very cool. All right. So now all we have to do is make our way back to Hermione in the bathroom. Or should I say, Fermione. For some reason, when Harry is turned into Goyle here, his movement is a little strange. You can see, like, we'll go a direction and then he'll like resist and like jut back a little bit. So you always have to walk just slightly farther than you would have to as Harry because, I don't know, it's like Goyle's phasing in and out of existence or something like that. Very strange. I don't know if it's on purpose because we're in the Polyjuice state or if the sprite is just weird. I'm not sure. But we find Tom Riddle's diary. We have to take Hermione to the hospital wing. And there we are. All right, we're getting into like the end game-ish parts now. There's gonna be 3 bosses to end the game, basically. But before we get to those bosses, oops, I went the wrong way. We have some story exposition we have to clear first. For whatever reason, the game includes this little Valentine's Day segment, and it's absolutely useless. I don't know why it's here. Just to show off pink tables, I guess, and stuff like that, but it serves no purpose to the story or our quests or anything like that. Maybe there's like some side quests that are like Valentine's Day themed, I don't know, but doesn't do anything for us, so. All right, so we need to head back up to Gryffindor Tower because we want to check out this this diary we just found. See what's up with that. But when we are gonna head up there, but we're gonna do one thing before we go into our little diary cutscene, and we're going to slightly progress the side quest that we started near the beginning of the game, which was for Katie to get Katie's book, her storybook that her mother gave her. We're gonna talk to that NPC there who tells us. Because what we would have found is if we searched the table that the book isn't there. that NPC will tell us, oh, I think I saw Ginny Weasley had the book last. So now the story has progressed to the point that we have to find Ginny to get the book back. That's the only thing of note. We just have a long cutscene here where we see Tom Riddle there in the Slytherin robes, and then we see young Hagrid with some kind of beast over there, but we can't see it from here. Yay, we got the glitched entrance to Tom Riddle where like half of his body is missing for no reason. I don't know why. Sometimes that happens. And then that's it. That's the whole cutscene. All right. So now we're gonna exit here. Oliver Wood's gonna tell us, hey, we got a Quidditch match. Awesome. Kind of weird. I don't know if you've noticed that each of the 3 Quidditch matches we've done so far have all been against Slytherin. We don't we don't play any of the other teams for whatever reason. I don't know why that is, but we just play Slytherin every time. Hermione says she's got to go do some research in the library. We're gonna head down to the Quidditch pitch. We can luckily take this nice shortcut, make it a little faster for us. All right, and then over to the Quidditch pitch. And then up to talk to Oliver Wood like we always do, but this is going to be a little different. McGonagall's going to come in and say Quidditch is canceled because some stuff is going on, and she is going to tell Ron and I that Hermione has been attacked, and Hermione is paralyzed, which is unfortunate. So now we no longer have access to Hermione the rest of the run. Which, if you were keeping track, we only used her for 1 fight anyway. Kind of unfortunate, but we will justify that with the next Harry Potter game that I'm running. But we need to make our way back up to Gryffindor Tower. We are going to pit stop on the way, and we're going to stop in Fred and George's shop again. And we're just going to buy some Grand Wiggenweld potions that we're going to use for the boss fights. So it's the only thing of note there. Oops, wrong way. Since that's all I'm doing, and then we just have some cutscene exposition stuff, are there any plugs or donations at this point?
There is actually a $20 donation by Melissa without a comment. Thank you very much for your support.
Yes, thank you very much, Melissa. Didn't list the house, so we're gonna have to just put that in the negative, or we could split it up evenly. How about that? We'll split it up evenly between the 4 houses. But it still puts Gryffindor in the lead, so we need some more House Cup representation. Let's go. Yeah,
if you want your house to win the House Cup, the unofficial House Cup of this marathon, get your donations in.
Yes, the official unofficial House Cup, of course. Okay, so we are told by McGonagall that based on all this, we're on like curfew lockdown because everyone's getting hurt now and it's ridiculous. So of course Harry and Ron grab the invisibility cloak and head out anyway because they need to talk to Hagrid to see what's going on with what they've learned in the diary. However, we are going to make yet another pit stop on the way in order to progress that side quest even further. Despite it being nighttime, Ginny Weasley is out here. Oops, if I could talk to her, that'd be great. And she's going to give us a storybook. Now, I told you earlier about our good old friend Colin Creevy, the photographer. So, and how it was important for routing. This side quest, what is meant to happen is we get the quest from Katie. Katie tells us to go to Gryffindor Common Room, look on the table for the book. It's not there, but we talk to that NPC who tells us Ginny had the book last. Now what we were meant to do is go find Ginny at any point in the game and say, hey Ginny, can you give us the book? And she said, she says, I'll give you the book if you give me a picture of yourself. Spoiler alert, she's kind of infatuated with Harry. Now, the only person in the game that could get a picture of us is Colin Creevy. However, Colin is paralyzed. So if we progress the quest after Colin has been paralyzed, we can no longer get a photo, and the game decides to skip that part of the side quest, and Ginny will just give us the book. So that is exactly why we wait till this long in order to progress the quest. So at this stage, we have the book. We just need to return it to Katie. That's all we got to do. We go to question Hagrid here, but we get stopped by the Minister of Magic, Lucius Malfoy, and Dumbledore. They're all in trouble. They're going to take Hagrid away to Azkaban because they think he's the one opening the Chamber of Secrets. He says, follow the spiders, which we're going to listen to, but not really. First things first, though, we're going to grab a revive potion just for safety there. And there are the spiders on the ground. And we're going to follow them to an extent, but not fully, because their path that they choose to take is very slow. For example, right here, if I had walked all the way around, I would have wasted a lot of steps. So I'm just going to take the shortcuts whenever I can. Just like this. I'm not taking your long, windy path. I'm taking the path that is shortest to get me from point A to point B.
Is the path still long enough to get a donation in?
Yes, go for it.
We have a $15 donation by Young Toonfish without a comment. Thank you very much for supporting this awesome cause.
Yes, thank you, Young. I appreciate that. We'll divvy it up again among the 4 houses. So we are gonna save here. Now, this is Aragog, big spider. I'm just gonna request some silence here. It's gonna be for a little bit of an extended sequence, but I promise I'll tell you what's going on after. But just a little bit of focus, because there is some input timings that I want to be able to hit. So just a little bit of time for me, please. He always, I'll just say this while we're waiting, because he always starts off with that stun attack no matter what. So that's not RNG, he will always do that. Hitting Harry twice there is bad, because he dies. That's why we get the revive potion, in case Aragog decides to do that. Okay, so we're gonna revive Harry. Enemy attack skip. And then, yeah, just let me focus for a second. All right, Aragog is dead, which you can see by his fangs taking off into the distance, which is kind of strange, but Aragog is dead. That might have looked a little weird, right? So let me talk a little bit about what just happened there. So we were using the enemy attack skip glitch. I think that part was obvious because we've done that a few times in the run. But we combined it with the mucus ad nauseum spell. And what happens there is if you have the mucus ad nauseum spell, which does chip poison damage, like we discussed earlier, and you combine it with the enemy attack skip function, what you can do is you can continuously chain skips together in order to the chip damage to take effect, but the turns are skipped, so it continuously cycles through the skips. We're performing inputs that would skip Aragog's turn, then Ron's turn, then Harry's turn, back to back to back, quick, and then it cycles back to Aragog's turn where it does the poison chip damage, and then it does it again. So we basically were chaining a series of enemy attack skips together in order to chain poison damage to take out the enemy. That's what it is. We actually do the same thing in the end bosses of Harry Potter 1 for Game Boy Color. However, in Harry Potter 1 for Game Boy Color, you can multiple cast the Mucus ad nauseum spell, and it actually like chains damage it like stacks damage at a high level. So we actually make it so we can do like 40 damage per turn as opposed to 15, which is nice. We could do something similar in this, but one, we'd have to survive multiple hits, which we can't because we're underleveled. And two, it would just, it doesn't stack as much. It doesn't like add another 15, add another 15. It just adds 5 each time, so it's not as useful. But yeah, that was Aragog. We have 2 more key boss fights, and the next one is actually the more hard of the 2, in my opinion. But first, you might have noticed Katie wasn't in that bed, but that's easily resolved by pausing and unpausing. We finally return the book to her, and she gives us the spell Petrificus Totalis, which is a paralyzing spell. We are going to use it exactly once, and that's all we're going to need of it. All right, so this is Lockhart. We are going to do the exact same thing, which is we're going to poison him and then do the chain, but the chain is a lot more dangerous here, so I'll explain that a little bit after I'm done, but I need some more focus time here, if you don't mind. Good. Oh, darn. I dropped the chain, which is very bad. Okay, so... Okay, we actually have to reset, which is why I saved there. That's unfortunate. So the chain is very difficult. So the reason why this fight is more difficult than the Aragog fight is because if we drop the Aragog chain, it actually just drops us back to our own turn, so we can just flee again and restart the chain. It's pretty simple. It's slow if we drop the chain, of course, but it's simple enough to pick back up. If we drop the Lockhart chain, it goes back to Lockhart's turn. So a couple things can actually happen when it's Lockhart's turn. He can actually just heal his own poison, which makes it very difficult to deal with, of course. But he can also attack us, and if we have to restart the chain mid-fight, he can also just, by chance, be paralyzed for only 1 turn, in which we wouldn't have enough magic to cast it again. So, but fortunately, I was able to get a second cast, but unfortunately, I dropped the chain twice, so it's very difficult. All right, here we go again. Oh, wow, I'm choking here. Dropped it immediately. All right, let's see if we can fix it again, though. Okay, there we go. Second try is the charm, I guess. So yeah, like I was explaining before, if we drop the Lockhart chain, it goes to Lockhart's turn. He can do a variety of things. He can heal his poison, he can damage us, and then we have to depend on him being paralyzed for multiple turns in order to restart the chain, which both times, luckily enough, we were lucky to get that. but he easily could have become unparalyzed, and then we don't have many more spells, any more items to heal our magic, and we don't have the ability to paralyze him. We have to chain together 37 consecutive enemy attack skips in order to make that work. So it's very difficult, and the timing is a lot tighter than it is in the Aragog one. So we were able to get it the second try, which is, it cost us, you know, probably like looking at it, a minute and a half or so, unfortunately. But that's why we saved there, in case things like that happen. So we got by. We got one more boss fight in the game, which is of course the Basilisk. So we're in the Chamber of Secrets. For whatever reason, we're a party just for a second of Harry, Ron, and Lockhart. For whatever reason, just for a second. That's a backfire, by the way, so it's 5. But we quickly lose Ron and Lockhart, so it's just Harry for the end fight. And now we're getting ready to make our way to the Basilisk. You saw there I picked up a wizard card, which is the last wizard card we need to do the weak point card combo, which is very important. The end game fight is very interesting, so I'll talk about it as we're heading up. So it's different than any other fight in the game for 2 reasons. 1, Harry will not be able to cast spells at all. The fight on Harry's side has Harry holding the Sword of Gryffindor, so Harry can only attack the Basilisk using the Sword of Gryffindor, and he cannot cast spells. However, we will have a companion in the game, and that companion is going to be Fawkes the Phoenix. Now, when Harry uses the Sword of Gryffindor, it has a very, I don't know what the percentage is, but the miss rate is very high. So I might get a chance to use the sword a couple times. Even if I do, it'll probably miss. Maybe I'll get a couple hits if I'm lucky. Fawkes is going to be the one that's dealing the damage to the Basilisk exclusively. The Basilisk, I believe, has somewhere like, I think it's like 700 or 750 health. And when we use weak point and Fawkes can attack, Fawkes will do somewhere between like a 90 and 105 damage per hit. If we didn't use weak point, just to compare, he would do about 20 to 25 damage. So weak point is very useful. Here's the fight. Unfortunately, we can't use weak point yet, because if we can't use weak point on the first turn if Harry is the one that's attacked. Poison is fine, we can use it here, but Harry can only take 2 hits from the Basilisk. So if I had tried to use weak point on the first turn and then the Basilisk attacked me again, I would die. And when Harry dies, it's over. So, but now we've used weak point. Now Fawkes can do some real damage. I'm gonna heal off that poison next turn. Well, 2 turns from now, I guess, because I have to heal off that damage first. Oh, you know what? Since we're both poisoned here, I'm actually going to use that healing bomb, because healing bomb heals off status effects, and then it gives us 10 health per turn. So I'm gonna because we can't use, I can't use an antidote on Fawkes. I can't actually use any items on Fawkes at all. So, but the card combos will work on Fawkes. So I use that so it heals Fawkes' poison as well as my own. And we also get 10 health back per turn, which is nice. As you can see, misses are common. Fawkes can even miss quite a bit of the time, unfortunately. But luckily, Fawkes has been doing fine. My sword hits are missing, but like I said, I'm pretty much used to that. That's why we get antidotes, so we can heal off poison quickly. And it's actually good that the Basilisk keeps focusing us, so that's why we get these potions, so we can continuously survive hits from the Basilisk. What we don't want is it to continuously hit Fawkes, but luckily we got by the fight. Now, time is not over yet. We don't really have, there's nothing left in the run technique-wise, but the run doesn't end until the last input. So we have some cutscenes to click through. But I'll just give a couple, I mean, I'm getting ready to run the next run anyway, so I won't go too crazy with shoutouts, but if you're interested in running this game, which is an excellent game, by the way, even if you're not interested in running the game as a speedrun, pick it up and play it casually, because it's really cool. If you play it casually, it might involve a little bit of grinding, just to be warned, but it's still super fun. Play it casually, it's a great time. You can get it on eBay for like $7 American, so it's really cheap. But if you are interested in learning to speedrun it, come on by speedrun.com/HP2GBC. We have guides, we have resources, we have a Discord for Harry Potter handheld speedrunning specifically, if you're interested. Or if you have questions about the game, feel free to ask me. I'm KonceptioN2. You can message me on Discord, you can follow me on Twitch, and I'll be happy to answer your questions in chat, or you can whisper them, whatever you prefer, things like that. But time is getting ready to come up. I'll let you know, don't worry, but it's after we get through these last bits of dialogue. Just have to get Lucius out of here, do the whole sock in the book maneuver so Dobby is freed. All right, time's coming up, and time. Not too bad considering I had to reset because of the Lockhart jam, but that's okay. We'll take it. You know, it's in the mid 124s, so I appreciate that. Thank you guys for watching this run. Don't go anywhere because we're gonna go into a brief intermission in a second, but I'm gonna be right back here in my Harry Potter cosplay with another run. So stick around.
Yes, stay tuned for the next run of KonceptioN2, which is going to be Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, any % on the Game Boy Advance. Yeah, we're gonna have a small intermission. I'm gonna go feed my cat and leave you with the awesome soundtrack playlist. So, see you in a couple of minutes for the next run.